And now we are recording.
Hell yeah.
So the last episode we had, we were 100% sober.
Now we're not.
Well, like 80%.
We're not. Okay, this bottle's almost gone. We had some vodka. We had some other bourbon.
I think we feel pretty tamed.
This script is the first one I wrote up like months ago when they were still underway. And I just got distracted with other things. And I found it. And I said, this would be great.
Yeah, so we all
We're gonna
had,
go for it.
we had like, what, a few glasses of bourbon, a couple shots of vodka, a shot of like apple cider.
Apple cinnamon
whiskey.
cider. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So we're
There's
gonna
no way
do
I'm
it.
distillery, so
before I start crying in a corner in the fetal position, let's start this episode.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So, this is a story of crimes and
Romance.
over-punishment. No romance,
All right.
unfortunately. No
Damn it.
romance. It'd be hotter if it did, but no romance. Of a soldier for World War II. Again, we're going to do World War II because
All right.
we're autistic.
Yeah, we're three autistic guys in our 30s.
Have you guys ever seen a German train?
Actually,
Gustav.
It was that German rail gun.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
was
the one that
insane.
they had
pretty
two of
dope.
and they couldn't move them because they had to build a rail system to move it literally
Yes.
anywhere.
It could shoot like past like
It was
20
like 2 miles or something.
Yeah, it was
20 miles.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Was it
something
20
crazy.
miles? With the horizon.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 2
All right.
miles back then.
It's artillery.
For a
That's pretty
train.
far. It's artillery.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Fucking
2
insane.
miles, that makes way more sense than 20.
But this Jack guy,
All right. Anyway, real story. Let's go.
yeah. So this guy Eddie Slovik, he was born in Detroit in February, and during his youth he was kind of a troublemaker. You know, getting into stuff. He was born in Detroit, so that kind of sells it right there. His first arrest was at age 12 when he broke into a foundry with some friends to steal brass. They were going to sell it, kind of like what people do now with copper. People break into places for copper and strip it from the walls, no problem. The next few years after that, he was charged for like crimes for like breaking and entering, disturbing the peace, whatever. In 1937, so he's 17. He was sent to prison and then he was paroled the following year after that, so 1938. Then he was sent back to prison after crashing a car with 2 friends while he was hammered. And then he was paroled again in 1942 where he met his wife Antoinette, and they got married in 1942, the same year that he got released. So his criminal record classified him as a 4 TAC F, which is unfit for duty. However, shortly after their first wedding anniversary and World War II intensifying, he was reclassified to a 1 Alpha, which is fit for duty, and he was drafted by the Army in 1944. So basically, they needed people, and they just moved their bar slightly. So he went from unfit for duty to fit for full duty. He arrived at Camp Walters, Texas, in the beginning of 1944 for basic training and was assigned to Company D of the 59th Infantry Division, and then later assigned to the Ground Forces Replacement Depot Number 1 of Fort Meade in Maryland. So you're going to know all about that. Later in the year, in August, he was sent to France to fight the Germans in the 3rd Replacement Depot. And then finally, he was one of 129 replacements assigned to the 28th Infantry Division, and then moved the next day to Company G of the 109th Infantry Regiment. And this is where everything kind of goes south for him. While en route to Elbeuf, France, he and another private by the name of John Tankey took cover during an artillery attack and were separated from G Company. And they were there overnight. So they were just getting shell-bombed the entire night. They hid out. They survived. The next day, they found the Canadian Military Police, and they would spend the next 6 weeks with them until they could rejoin their unit. While in custody, Tankey wrote to the company to explain their situation, to kind of let them know, hey, we were in this artillery thing, we got caught up, and here's where we're at. The following day, Eddie informed his company commander, Ralph Grode, that he was too scared to serve on the front line and would request to be sent to a unit further back. So he wanted to do more of like a support element, whether that was like running food to the front line or ammo, whatever. He didn't want to be up front. He then claimed that he would run away and asked his captain if that would result in a court-martial for desertion, and then they would deny his request, basically to get moved further back. So the following day, he deserted from his unit. Tenke, who was the guy in the shelling with him, tried to persuade him to stay, but his mind was made up. He said, fuck this, I'm out of here. He walked for several miles and was approached by a cook and presented him with the desertion note, which I'm going to read what he said. It's kind of weird because the way they have it written, he wasn't a very smart guy, so the wording was messed up, so there's a bunch of like parentheses in here where they like correct what was written. But it says, I, Private Eddie D. Slovik, 36896415, confess to the desertion of the United States Army. At the time of my desertion, we were in Elbeuf, France, came to Elbeuf as a replacement. They were shelling the town, and we were told to dig for the night. The following morning, they were shelling us again. I was so scared, nervous, and trembling at the time the other replacements moved out, I couldn't move. I stayed there in my forecastle till it was quiet, and I was able to move. I then walked to town, not seeing any of our troops. I stayed overnight in a French hospital. The next morning, I turned myself over to the Canadian Provost's Corps. After being with them for 6 weeks, I was turned over to the American MP. They turned me loose. I told my commanding officer my story. I said that if I had to go out there again, I'd run away. He said there was nothing he could do for me, and I ran away again. And I'll run away again if I have to go out there. Signed, Private Eddie D. Slovik, ASN 36896-415. So that was his note that he gave to the cook after he had already deserted after talking to his CO, if it would be a court-martial. So the cook took Eddie to the MPs and his commander, and the commander was actually pretty decent, and they urged him to destroy the note, and they would return him to his unit, and there'd be no further action taken against him. So he basically said no. He's like, I meant this, and I'm planning on running away. If you send me back, I'm going to run away again. So the CO instructed him to write a note on the back of his own that he understands the consequences of his actions and that his note will be used in court-martial against him. So at the time, there was a lot of people deserting, and it was kind of a common thing. And usually they just got jail time, and usually with how any of desertion or like war crime stuff works, it goes until the end of the conflict, and then everyone's released. Because at that point, you would be out anyway. So he convinced he would only get jail time. He said, I've made up my mind, I'll take the court-martial. So, charged with desertion and avoidance of hazardous duty, he tried court-martial on the 11th of November, 1944. During this, there was a board, so it's kind of the same way they run court-martials now. There's an entire panel of people all made up of military personnel. You get a lawyer, and you get to work out your case. And the difference with a court-martial and non-judicial punishment, which is known as NJP. NJP, there's no bearing of guilt. So there's no criminality to it. There's nothing on your permanent record on the civilian side. But it's up to the CO to determine if you've met one of those indictments. Court-martial is like a regular court. They have to basically prove that you did this. So during this, 9 officers found him guilty and sentenced him to death by firing squad. And it's crazy to think during this time, they were essentially kept in like a barn while they were waiting for court-martial. And there's people coming back and they're like, oh, I only got 12 months. I only got 18 months, whatever. So he's thinking like, I'm going to get whatever. I'm going to get a year, confinement. It's not a big fucking deal. They sentenced him to death by firing squad. So on the 9th of December, he wrote to President Dwight D. Eisenhower pleading for clemency, but was denied because there was high volumes of desertion from France at the time. So on the 31st of January, 1945, at 10:04 a.m., they carried out an execution of him. And so, required by military customs, he was stripped of all of his identifying insignias, buttons, awards, everything. And he was wrapped in a GI blanket and led out into this big courtyard, and they had a concrete wall behind him. And they tied him to a post. So they tied his torso underneath his arms, they tied his waist, and they tied his feet. So this was to kind of keep him from slumping over when they shot him. At that point, once he was secured, 12 soldiers with M1 carbines entered the courtyard. And after they did, a soldier went up behind them and loaded 11 live rounds and 1 blank into the firing squad members. So they can't see this. They're holding it at their side. And a round gets loaded into every single gun. 11 of them are live. One of them's not. At the command of fire was yelled. He was hit by 11 bullets, 4 of them being fatal. He was hit mainly in the chest, shoulder, and upper abdomen. The squad's rifles were being reloaded because he was still technically alive when they went to check on him. But then he was pronounced dead. The entire execution took 15 minutes. He was then taken and buried in a lightly marked grave with 95 other soldiers executed either for rape or murder. His wife then contacted Truman, Eisenhower, JFK, LBJ, Nixon, Ford, Carter, and requested for him to return to the U.S. with pardon until her death in 1979. All the requests were denied. The last thing that he said before because they give you an opportunity to speak before this, he said, "They're not shooting me for deserting the United States Army. Thousands of guys have done that. They just need to make an example out of somebody, and I'm it because I'm an ex-con. I used to steal things when I was a kid, and that's what they're shooting me for. They're shooting me for the bread and chewing gum I stole when I was 12 years old." And that is the story of Private Edward D. Slovik, and he is the only American soldier to be court-martialed and executed for desertion since the Civil War.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I guess a few things, right? So, one, I think this is why I would never be in favor of mandatory service.
Right, because you're going to get that.
Yeah.
Because if you are a country who has a 100% voluntary military, you are there knowing what the repercussions are, what the threat might be, what you might be up against.
Yeah.
And you know that the punishment for abandoning your post can be this, right?
Yep.
It can be, treason, punishable by death. Where you go into, World War II, where you have a bunch of mandatory service. People are called to service that obviously don't want to be there. Probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah. There's a reason he was moved from the category of unfit for duty to full fit for duty.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, and that's the other thing I want to talk about is he was moved, right? From he was at one point unfit and moved to fit. What about and now this is more, I guess, social politics. Those individuals that have the means to sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Well, the term it would be draft dodge, right? They have the means to
pay their way out.
Yeah, pay their way out. They have a doctor to.
Well, no. So actually, and again, this is kind of getting into current shit, but it's a fact. Everyone likes to rag on Trump for dodging the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. At the time, it was a legal practice to pay your way out of the draft. Like, that's not a shady thing. That's not an uncommon thing. There's a lot of people that were able to pay their way out of the draft because that was just one. That was literally one of the options. You could either get drafted or pay money. And he was from a family that could pay money. But, like, you have some people that can't do that because it was like an exorbitant amount of money for the time.
So I don't want to focus too much on.
No, it's one of those things
politics.
where it's like, kind of going forward.
But still, even when he paid his way out, right? It was still it was a medical diagnosis.
Right, they have to do something, but you were able to pay for it, and it was a known thing that was legal. Like, there was nothing that anyone else wouldn't be able to do. It wasn't like a one-time off circumstance.
Yeah, it's not a practice that I agree with.
I don't agree with it, but it's one of those things where people bring it up all the time. and it's the way things were.
Yeah,
to do.
Yeah, so but going back to this, he was unfit for duty, and then labeled as fit for duty. So he is somebody who should not have been deployed in conflict.
Right. They needed bodies, fodder.
Yeah, and World War II is an interesting example for the draft. So Vietnam is known for draft. That's really where a lot of people, when they think of draft, they think Vietnam War. But people were drafted in World War II. So one of my biggest things is
because Vietnam was more of a lottery.
Vietnam was
Yes.
more of a social construct too, because people were able to agree with World War II.
Right.
People weren't.
It was
able
easy
to
to
agree
get
with
on
Vietnam.
board with it. It was when you actually know
When you know what
Vietnam
you're
conflict.
fighting for, and you go to Vietnam, you're like, okay, I don't need to.
When you're entering a
Right.
civil war that was already going on for 20 years.
right.
Yeah,
And-
but I don't want to tangent too much, but
No, and World War II was, it was very different for draft. And one of the things, my wife and I, we talk about all the time because my oldest son is autistic. And there are certain disabilities now that we think about that aren't recognized back in the day.
they weren't diagnosed.
Right.
Autism.
So how many people in World War II all the way up to Vietnam, when there was a draft imposed on the American people, were sent with mental disabilities?
They 100% did it because they sent it with people that were medically classified as being retarded,
Right.
to serve, and it's kind of the same thing that you see Russia doing
Right.
with people in
Yeah,
like
with-
mental institutions, and they're like, run this way, and they see where the gunfire is coming from, and they start shooting.
Right. And it's
But
Like,
at least
we're not
at-
much different.
at-
We're ahead by 50 years. We're not that much different.
At least in modern day, right, with Russia, they're using people in their prison system that are prisoners convicted of whatever, right? And I mean, I would even say that even
After
like
they
socially, Russia is behind than
Yeah,
what
correct.
the U.S. is.
After they went through all the mental institutions,
Yes,
Right.
but that is a fantastic take that you have of because I forgot what year it was that like autism disorder really started to be diagnosed by doctors to patients. But even
probably in the
yeah, like,
2010s.
but even like yes, like World War II era wasn't happening.
Well, that's the whole
Right.
thing.
So
Where it's
you-
like your
yeah.
grandparent probably had fucking autism because they liked shit organized a certain way.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, they couldn't function. And it's like, okay, that's not just their weird thing. They're autistic.
But that's
Yeah.
the crazy thing too, is that there are different levels to autism.
Yeah.
And we have high functioning, which are people like Bill Gates.
There's
He's
also-
high functioning.
Yeah, plenty of people in very technical jobs, and you see it in the military. We
Yes.
all work a fairly technical job.
Yeah.
We're all
And-
autistic. I mean, I'm just going to say it.
Dude, I love a good train.
Yeah. I'm a plane
Detroit
guy
Diesel?
myself.
But you see it in these highly technical jobs where you know.
Yeah.
But again, it is a spectrum, and so there are people that can function day to day, go to the store, do chores, do whatever, with a little bit of hindrance because of their disorder.
Yes.
And then there are people that can't function, that are non-vocal and have truly so much trouble to function in life.
That's my biggest thing, is that it might not be in our lifetime, because at one point World War II, all of us have been around where people have still survived World War II, and I mean, I've talked to people who were medics during the Battle of the Bulge, and I was just like, wow, that's insane. Like, this is someone's grandpa. And later on down the road, our children's will look at World War II and be like, wow, I can't imagine being around that time or around people during that time. But when it comes to the disabilities, I feel like later on they're going to try to hold the government accountable for drafting people who, at the time, like I said, I don't condone the word, but they classified people with retardation and drafted them. They did it anyway. Back in World War II, all the way up to Vietnam. And they called them slow. But how difficult is it to shoot a rifle? Right? You could teach anybody to do that.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole thing with, what's the fucking movie with Private Pile?
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. That's the whole, the beginning 45 minutes of that movie.
Yeah, Forrest Gump, too.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but Forrest Gump didn't blow his head off then I'm
not a true story, but it's very close.
Those are two separate,
right?
Yeah,
they made movies about people being put in a position that they're not supposed to be in.
Right.
Yeah. So this is, a prime example of a reason why, again, why I am one of the many reasons why I'm totally against any of non-voluntary service.
And there's actually a movie off of this. It is called The Execution of Private Slovik. And it came out in 1974, so it's kind of 1974-ish movie looking. Yeah. It kind of looks like it was filmed with a phone.
What does a phone look like in 1974?
I actually watched it one day.
I could barely watch movies filmed in the 90s.
So let me tell you, I watched this movie, and if it was made now and they remade it, it would be fucking amazing.
Okay,
yeah,
it's just because they were filming it with cameras that were they had to move with a fucking car.
Well, so I know it's really tough because it was 1940s, right? Is there any evidence that maybe he did show
He probably did. There's there's a lot where it's when they look at people of young ages that are committing crimes a lot.
So I know low school, low scores, low classes,
So it wasn't dumb.
Where was he from?
Detroit.
Okay, so Michigan.
Yeah.
That's a big population. So when I joined the Marines, they talked about the location for the majority of the people that recruited into the Marines from certain states, and one of them was from California.
Yep.
What's the military good at? Poverty.
Right. So southern states, but when it comes to...
You want a job, you want money, you want housing?
Right. When it comes to the north,
there you go, bud.
a lot of Michigan was said no.
Just a drop.
Well, because look at Michigan, right? So you look at Michigan in the 1940s. That is a bustling in. I don't know what's happening. I think everybody's kissing each other.
It's kind of gay.
All right,
He's
anyway,
gooning.
I love him.
all right,
My brother.
We have no camera for this podcast, so you can't see what's happening.
I don't feel like editing the video footage, so.
Yeah. Oh God, that would take forever. Anyway, so you all right? Pause. look at 1940s Detroit, Michigan, right? Bustling,
Auto capital of the world.
yeah. And then what is that now? High crime. It's the industrialization of that city of Detroit.
What America used to
state
be.
of Michigan. Yeah, it's totally fallen. And I totally forgot where I was going with this.
No,
But I think it was with a topic that we were talking about before.
Yeah, I have a feeling maybe I might be moving in the right direction. But, there is a certain type of people in the United States, especially during World War II, that had a calling to serve their country.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things was that, you were excluded from service from heart murmurs and what else was it?
Like bone spurs and
Yeah.
things like that.
Maybe asthma.
Yeah, asthma
can't
was a
really
big
remember.
one.
But, there was a lot of things. But one of the biggest things, especially in Americans that were born in poverty and grew up in poverty, was that they had a record. And even in movies that, you watch now, the biggest ones were the Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan. you have a lot of people who they talk about, like, be running with certain groups of people, like maybe having an experience that most people now wouldn't experience, and that's the life of crime. And there's an interesting take on people during the mid 20th century that were involved in crime. And there's a confusion with people who were involved in crime that were purposefully involved themselves in the crime and joined gangs. And there were people that were trying to make a living. And then there were people outside of that didn't know any better, trying to make a living and protect people and trying to, take care of their family. So you have groups, especially in New York, you have mafia. You have people that were involved in crime, making money. Now, what does that look like? Like bringing in cocaine.
Yeah, so
right.
Yeah, we were saying this. Yeah, so typically from people from low income backgrounds
Yes.
are typically involved in high crime communities.
Yes.
Which is, I would say, is modern Detroit.
Right. And so, like, okay, but okay, so in you guys have seen the first Godfather, right?
I've seen all three.
Okay, all three. Okay, yeah, you're Italian. So
not a good
O'Brien
depiction.
is Italian. Yeah.
That is not a
right.
good depiction of real.
of course not. No. I'm not trying to point him out, but there's a point in the Godfather where there is someone. Corleone, the Godfather.
Yeah.
Marlon Brando.
Yeah, Marlon Brando.
Yeah, he's British.
To this day, nobody understands why he put cotton in his mouth.
He's a wonderful actor. Apocalypse Now, Godfather.
Yeah. Good-looking guy.
Yeah, he was very handsome when he was young. Yeah, absolutely. But
really handsome.
Stop, please. So, in the Godfather,
anyway.
the first Godfather, there's a point in the wedding when one of the people that works for him comes up to him, and he seems to be mentally challenged. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about? He's massive. The guy is absolutely massive, and he's like George Corleone, or not George. What's his name? Anyways, he comes the Godfather. He's like Corleone. Yeah. He's like, you've done very. He talks about the things that he's done for him, the things that he appreciates him for, and he represents a person within that timeline that has special needs, and a person that for the movie's sake, takes advantage of him for his special needs because he's very strong. And you fast forward to this timeline where we are now in the 21st century, that we look at people with special needs. We look at the stereotypes.
Yeah.
Where, there's the farmer's strength, right?
Yeah.
There's the people with Down syndrome that, we say that are very happy and they appreciate everyone around them. They're just always positive. And then there's the autism, where they are high functioning in a certain area. There are things that we notice now that I've talked to my wife many times, where we look at the draft in the U.S. government and we say, holy crap, like we were drafting people with special needs to go to a war zone, giving them a rifle. Yes, and as fodder, as an American. Like that is something that breaks my heart. Yes. Yep. And like,
so like
on all fronts.
Looking at World War II, the frickin' Mosin?
Yes.
You guys were handling earlier. The reason those were so cheap when I bought them is because Russia made an additional 60 million of them. Because they were just sending people out.
The Mosnagant rifle, for listeners out there who don't know what he's talking
it's
about.
It's basically a piece of wood with
it's
a barrel in it.
Russian rifle.
Yeah, super cheaply made. And they just mass produce these things. And That's why they were so cheap. You could literally, when I was buying them, you could buy a crate for $600, and there was 12 of them in a crate.
And that's the craziest thing about the Soviets too, is that there was a class of people, and one of the biggest things, especially during World War II, during the Battle of Stalingrad, were female snipers.
I had a really good conversation with my dad actually about female snipers because, we were talking about female roles, in the military.
I'm interested.
Not sparked by any current politics.
Sure.
Yeah. And no. No. So so my dad is very open, and my dad. I'm going to suggest for my dad to listen to some of these episodes, so he's going to hear what I'm talking about anyway.
Yeah. When we were, hell yeah.
Yeah. So, but my dad is really good at listening to a point of a conversation.
Yeah.
And then if he doesn't understand something, like he'll shift his opinion, right?
Sure.
And it was over Labor Day weekend. We were talking about various female roles in the military, and I brought up how the Soviets now, and there has been other countries that have used female snipers, but I would say the Soviets are the most well known. So I was telling about the role of the females and sniper units in the military, the Soviet military, because of their ability to focus long term on a target. Because oftentimes snipers have to lay in a position, view an area for hours on end, wait for their target to come in view, be able to have a clear and clean shot, and then take that shot.
And then wait to get the fuck out of there.
So,
because they don't move right away.
Yeah, so we were having this whole conversation, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't have that perspective." But I could go again.
So and one of the things about women compared to men, when they shoot a rifle, when it comes down to it, they are more flexible, and they can get into a position that is more comfortable to hold a rifle. And one of the things, especially about the Battle of Stalingrad, was that most of the fight was urban. And when they are taking a shot, it's not an 800-yard shot. It's not a 400-meter shot. It is a shot that is from me to a position where I can say I am going to hit that person, and that person that just so happens that I'm shooting at is a person of strategic value. And one of the things about the German army was that they had distinguished parts of their uniform that let other people know that they were in charge. And, it came to tanks, it came to infantry, even all the way out to artillery, to combination hats, to garrison hats, to the men that were wearing uniforms with helmets. And, one of the big things about Soviet females that were shooting at Germans were that they were shooting them close range, and that they can get comfortable, just like you said, and they could sit in one position for a long time, longer than men, to take a shot and take the target. And they would just shoot the one person, and they'd leave.
Yeah, but that leave time is crazy. I mean, you listen to some people that went to sniper school for whether it was Rangers or Recon or whatever, and they'll set up and they'll take the shot, and they'll just sit there for 2 hours, because movement is what's going to throw someone off. Yeah. If you're just staying still and your camouflage good enough, no one's going to see you. So, but if you shoot somebody and then fucking run, they're going to see where you're at, and then now they can start tracking.
Yeah. Now, and I don't know if this was something that the Russians knew, because the Soviet Russia was very much of the mindset of every person of the motherland must fight for their country and their sovereignty, fight the enemy of fascism. So they did not they discriminated in some areas.
It's Russia.
but they did not discriminate between man and woman when it came to fighting for the motherland.
And that's the crazy thing about Russia. And at the time, it being the Soviet Union, was that they didn't discriminate because they needed everything they possibly could get.
Yes, and that leads me to my next point, right?
Yeah.
So what was the reason Germany invaded Stalingrad? It was because it was the namesake of the current leader, Joseph Stalin. It was the namesake city.
It's the big fuck you.
There was yes, exactly. There was no logistical reason why the Germans should invade Stalingrad. So they invaded Stalingrad to give the fuck you to Joseph Stalin, and in typical communist Russian fashion, they just sent as many bodies as possible. There are so many lives lost in the Battle of Stalingrad.
Yes.
Not just Russian, but Russian and German. But like you said, they just wanted bodies. They wanted people. They wanted as many numbers as possible to send and face against the enemy of Soviet Russia.
And one of the biggest things that you notice a trend with communism, especially with the foundation of communism in a country, is the people that are expendable. And one of the biggest things, especially when Lenin, after the Bolshevik Revolution, had died, handed power over to Stalin, and he started a revolution that killed, 6 million farmers in the Soviet Union? And it carried over to a place like China with Mao Zedong. And he held a similar revolution, and it killed millions of people. So it is a cause, it is a remembrance for a lot of these people, the population of people that died, and the leadership telling them that they fought for their country, for their motherland, their fatherland. And it's a conspiracy. It is it's a twist on people basically fighting for their country for reasons that their ancestors fought for their country, whether that be during a war or just fighting for survival. Mao Zedong was a perfect example where he fought other Chinese. It was a revolution, and they fought them all the way to Taiwan, the Republic.
Yeah, so you have the it was the first Chinese Civil War, where you have the Communist Chinese versus the ROC, the Republic of China, where they eventually fled to Taiwan. Yep. So, which ironically, I know the People's Republic of China, their PRC, have used this in false statements about how they existed before. They're the original people of the Chinese country. There's a specific speech that I have in my head that was used, or that was done. I can't remember the speech. It would make much more sense with context. Anyway, so you had those two powers. You had the ROC and the PRC, and in that civil war, the PRC essentially got the ROC to run out. They fled to Taiwan. And the PRC took power in mainland China, which means you have two Chinas.
Right.
Yeah.
And China is a fascinating part of history, and especially where it is now. Like it'd be a great topic for one of our podcasts later on.
That would be huge.
Because at one point there's 4 dynasties, and there's the Qin dynasty that is China today, and they were under turmoil from the Mongolians and from the other dynasties as well.
Yeah, because I think not only is it the dynasties, it's now. I'm really interested in doing this for another episode.
Yeah,
because this is the China is so fascinating.
We got Wednesday, boys.
And I've looked into and I've studied some China and read about them, but China is one of those countries where just like Russia is so ethnically diverse.
Yes.
Where you have a certain population that comes to power and is able to come to power and project the power, right?
Yes.
That they essentially suppress and are able to control the quote unquote lesser minorities.
Yes, and it goes into history repeating itself. So China is doing something that Germany did and Japan did a long time ago, and that is trying to keep the population pure, trying to keep their objective politically pure.
Yeah.
And that maybe tyranny might be all right. Like, maybe we can, if I can prove to you that I could be a leader of your country for the next 20, 30 years, that maybe I can prove to you that things would get better and that you would benefit from me, from a person like me. And that is a perfect example of Xi Jinping to this day, is that he has shown his country that he can advance the military, advance their economics, and show the people that he can make the majority of the population middle class, and that they can drive the economy and benefit themselves. And he really has. But the thing is that there are things that people like us see through the fine lines. We see the fine print. Yeah,
so Xi Jinping is so interesting, and again, another fantastic episode where I could spend some time to actually do some real hardline research. But he is somebody who has been able to centralize and filter power to not. So for those of you who don't know how like a communist power works, right? The head of the Communist Party is the General Secretary, but you still have the state. So you still have a president of the state. Xi Jinping is not only the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, but he's also the president of China.
Yeah.
So you have somebody who's been able to concentrate power and fill that role where that concentrated power exists.
Yes.
So in the entire history of China, he is considered of all the leaders to be the most powerful leader.
Yes. And
so even more powerful than Mao Zedong.
Yes. And one of the biggest things, and going back to our original story and our original subject, is the punishment of treason within the military. One of the biggest things is that the government, the United States government, has relinquished responsibilities upon officers in the United States military to subject their service members to different laws and to hold them accountable for certain things that they do that is absolutely unheard of within the United States population. Because, like, what you do something you don't want to do, right? You're told, hey, go over here and do this, and you're like, absolutely not, I don't agree with that. And as a
CMJ, baby.
That's right. That's right. And one of the biggest things, especially with the United States, is that we hold our service members accountable for things that we have pressed as law. We've pressed this law a long time ago, and none of that has changed. And I mean, we're talking about, even to this day, there are UCMJ policy and laws that hold service members accountable for execution. Like,
I think a lot of that comes from, like, old day standards.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff in the military that comes from stuff that's back from the day.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of it necessarily is implemented today.
Is it? Well, but that's the thing, though. Like,
When was the last time you saw someone executed for treason?
I haven't.
Right.
But we have people
What was
within
that
the
guy,
United
Bergdahl?
States.
Who was that
Bergdahl.
guy?
Bergdahl. Yes,
Bergdahl,
Bergdahl. Yeah, Sergeant Bergdahl.
Yeah.
So,
He wasn't executed.
no, he wasn't. And that was...
And that's, I mean, if there's treason, that was one of them.
It should have been.
That was one of them. That's
But
crazy.
when it comes down to it, it's who's in charge of that time. It's the president. And it's the president that holds those people responsible and carries that weight for the level of law that falls upon that person.
Yeah, but you can still put that up.
Absolutely.
I mean, 03 can put that up
Absolutely.
and be like, hey, this is fucking treason.
Yes. And
No one does because, like, you're going to kill somebody.
right. And one of the biggest things, especially with the United States, is that I still believe that the United States has the best checks and balances because of population. So we have a court system that will
Like
check.
the Supreme Court.
I feel like it goes through more than just the Supreme Court, because especially people like Sergeant Bergdahl, I feel like
That's a good desertion act.
it is a very
Yeah.
good one. But the thing is that it doesn't go through Supreme Court. It goes through a military court.
Yeah.
And I think that it's up to the person that is in command at that moment as a judge upholding the law that holds that person accountable. And it could be anybody. It could be the person that actually...
But again, that goes back to being drafted or volunteering.
Absolutely.
Because if, like, I volunteered to join, and if they want to go and kill me for something, all right, sure. But, like, if you didn't volunteer for that and they were like, hey, you're going to do this thing, and now you don't want to do the thing you didn't want to do, and we're going to kill you, that's a bit different.
That's why I'm against mandatory service.
Right.
Or
But-
really any. I'm against any sort of.
If you have to draft
conscription.
people, there is a problem with your conflict.
Yes.
Now there's a the only way I'm in favor of conscription is if we're actively invaded.
Yes.
So that's my
Right, but dude,
one-off,
we have
right?
so many.
Yeah.
There's so many things for the U.S. that are different than other countries.
Yes,
that, were
that
invaded.
is true.
But Ukraine is an example. So they have a forced conscription for people that are drafted to fight on the front line against Russia. That does make sense. That is
100%,
literally
yeah.
like there are people in Russia that are being drafted that are escaping Russia because they do not want to fight that fight because they are not defending. They are offending. And for the United States to look at a draft, we look at World War II compared to Vietnam. There are more people in Vietnam that were drafted than in World War II.
Well, look how many people now with social media just say fuck it,
right.
and it's like you can't arrest. Like literally, it's like I know it's like the crazy take, but you can't arrest all of us. There's only so
Exactly.
much room in jails
Exactly.
to put people.
But is leadership going to be responsible for people who deny the draft or conscription? Will they follow through execution right now?
How are you going to follow
21st
through the execution?
Exactly. It's not going to happen.
There is no world in which you're going to have an execution of someone that doesn't go for a draft now.
So
There's too much shit going on. There's too much shit.
execution is the extreme, and that was what the story was
Yes.
about, right? And it was Bergdahl was mentioned, and I think in a modern society, execution doesn't have a place.
No.
It now, if you were to chat with me on the side, it can have a place in certain criminalities, like
It's too certain, though.
yeah. If you are a
Child predator.
admittedly a child molester,
Right.
sure, 100%, I'd kill him.
Sure.
I no hesitation kill him. But in Bergdahl's case, right? He leaves his post, and people go after they go to attempt to find him, and people do die trying to find him.
Yes.
Terrible. That is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But
I was in Afghanistan during that time when he was gone.
And that's awful, right? But I don't think that he should die or be killed for what he did, because he was, and people don't fully understand, he was dishonorably discharged. A dishonorable discharge is not just handed out to somebody because, oh, maybe they did some drugs during their enlistment and they popped hot for a piss test, or they disobeyed a command from a superior officer.
Right.
And, a dishonor, those are all maybe some UCMJ punishments, some NJPs, maybe a general discharge or whatever, right?
Yeah.
A dishonorable discharge
It's a felony.
is massive.
You know why?
It is absolutely massive. It disrupts your entire life.
Do you know why the Coast Guard is so strict on their recruiting and retention?
Why?
Because of him. He was in the Coast Guard prior, and what do they call it? It's DEPT, out of boot camp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they discharge themselves out of boot camp. If you now discharge yourself out of Coast Guard boot camp, you are ineligible to go to another boot camp. You cannot join another branch if you leave the Coast Guard in boot camp.
And
Because of him.
One of the biggest things, especially because of Bergdahl, was that there was CCTV footage of him leaving his post.
Yes.
He was high on hashish,
Yeah,
apparently.
so,
And when I got to Afghanistan, there were posts on our sites saying, "Have you seen this man in 2012?" And his exchange was in 2014. And one of the biggest things is, especially when I was out there, and what I had heard was that he was a sympathizer and that he had made deals for his survival with the Taliban. So, there is the fight or flight conversation that a lot of people want to have about many subjects, but it's like, well, if you were captured by the Taliban, if you were in the army and you left because you were high out of your freaking mind and got captured, would you tell people exactly what they wanted to hear for your survival? And the answer is absolutely yes. You're going to tell them exactly what they want so that you could live. And that he was married. He had a wife at home. I don't know if he had kids, but he thought about his wife. I'm 100% sure of that. He was in an occupation. He was taken a hostage for 2 years.
Yeah, but that's crazy to take hostage over that.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
And to be alive. Because when we go back to Iraq,
especially during that time.
Well, during Iraq, my biggest thing when I was in high school in Iraq was the National Guardsman that was beheaded by Al-Qaeda.
I remember watching the videos.
It was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. There was Funker.
Yep,
that
Funker
was the biggest
350.
one.
Yep.
Was that they showed videos of real
you could see
situations.
everything. You could see everything. When I grew up, you could see Bin Laden got hung live.
Saddam
on
Hussein.
TV. Hussein got hung.
I mean, if you catch Reddit on the right moment.
If you catch Reddit, I remember Bin Laden getting shot. That night, I remember the report going.
The face.
out.
There was a face of Bin Laden.
There was a face.
He got shot. Yeah.
You could see all of it. They don't do that now, but back in the day,
I mean, I'm not.
Back in the day of the early 2000s, yeah,
because you would
see that shit.
Yeah,
we saw a particular person get shot.
I mean, maybe we saw some
in
things.
recent times.
Yeah, that's absolutely
pretty aggressive.
It is. That is history repeating itself. That is a different level of historic grievance. And it's gone from nation to nation historical grievance to political grievance. And it is, for me, it's disgusting that people would be willing to kill someone else because they don't believe in what they believe in. Like, we live in a country where the Constitution protects everybody who believes in whatever they want to believe in. And for a person to shoot another person, to assassinate another person by any means, is absolutely disgusting, because we live in a country that protects us, that really does let us be who we want to be and who we can be within the laws.
How much do we want to talk about? How much do we want to talk about domestic politics?
Let's do it, baby.
We can. How much time do we got?
What time is it?
It is
4:30.
4:34. We got time.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's go.
But your mom's gonna say something? Bro, let's get the fuck out of here. I see the viewers. I got the account. I see the viewers. We got.
It'll
3.
come back 10
We
years
got
later
3.
when you're running for governor of.
Fuck that! I ain't running for governor for shit. And they're gonna play this.
100%.
You're
You're
gonna
gonna
play
run for
this. So
governor.
you know what? If I am running for governor, fuck you.
Oh, man,
No, please don't.
I wish I wrote notes down for this.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Where's Clarissa?
You wouldn't believe. All right, so First Amendment is an attack, right? You have several weeks ago, Pam Bondi, Attorney General, is
The AG.
his
The DHS.
is saying that we must
Not her, Krusty. Let me tell you, I dated a girl
So,
named Krusty. They're all crazy.
And I want to focus some time on this specific First Amendment issue, right? So Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States, is saying that we need to to prosecute to prosecute hate speech, right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing that the Republicans have been going after prior to Trump was that. Let me rephrase that. Democrats prior to Trump were saying we should prosecute hate speech, and Democrats' response was no. All speech is free speech. So, Democrats say, let's prosecute hate speech. Republicans say, all speech is free speech. Oh my god, I don't even know
There's
what's
so
done.
much to talk about.
Oh my god.
And I have to go home.
So we can
That's gonna be a crazy
we can
hour and
talk
40-minute
about
episode.
The Balfour Declaration,
Yes.
in the early 1900s.
The United Nations involvement with the first Arab-Israeli war.
Yep,
Yeah.
we can talk about some of the earliest settlement movements in the
Yes.
1800s to the
We
1936
can talk about
to 1939 Arab-Israeli War,
Egypt's occupation of the Gaza and the West Bank.
up until 1967.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man,
There's a lot to
This
talk
is
about.
a
in the Middle
topic
East.
I love.
We can go on.
Yeah, we
And
got
it all
to...
started with the guy that got assassinated in World War II for desertion.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, we got off topic really
Yeah.
fast.
But that
Oh,
happens.
it's
That
a fun-
happens
That was a
sometimes.
fun conversation.
That
That
happens
was a good one.
sometimes. You're gonna have these conversations.
Yeah.
A lot of people say it.
But
Read us out,
but
Dan.
speaking of stuff,
Read us out.
no. So there's some stuff going on right now.
I know you're gonna love to read us.
So the Hamas,
You do it the best.
Hamas,
Yeah,
is,
in the
Hamas is dealing with some serious interior
Shit.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now. So they're
It's actually kind of bad.
so
it's really bad.
They're doing. So for those who don't know, inside Gaza, it's not just Hamas. There are other organizations that disagree with each other, and they disagree with each other violently.
Yeah.
There are militias there. Hamas, the most famous one, right? The most
And
famous.
Hezbollah.
Yep. Well, Hezbollah is oh my god. Lebanon.
Yeah, and was it Arafat? He was the one that started the whole
So so Iran has its what is it called? It's like its axis of resistance, right? So Iran has its arms, right? Or it's its extensions, and it consists of, most infamously, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. So Arafat was the leader of the Palestinian organization, or the PA, during the Oslo Accords.
Yes.
So that was when Clinton was in office.
Yes.
Yep. And
Barbara Streisand interviewed him, right?
wait, really?
I believe so.
Oh my
God. So Arafat, probably the most well-known leader of the Palestinian organization. So for those who are listening, my parents,
mom,
my mom, my dad, I'll tell them to take a listen.
yeah.
My in-laws, I don't know.
To
if
the
they're
millions
listening.
of people 10 years from now.
Yeah, to the millions of people that are
To
listening.
the people on Mars listening to this.
The clones of Elon Musk.
Elon was a human.
So
Don't
they-
believe the scripture.
So you have sort of like two organizations that are in charge or represent the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
Which the Palestinian people are a group of people.
Yeah.
That is undeniable. The Palestinian Authority, or the PA, most famously led by Arafat in the 1990s, and there was a give or take a decade, but they were the organization that could actually vote on laws, make laws, and legally decide on decisions for the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
Now you have the PLO, or the Palestinian Liberation Organization. The way I think about this is the way the PA is for the people is the way this state senators are for people of the U.S. The PLO represented globally Palestinians ethnically. And the way I equate that is like state representatives. So representatives represent citizens of the state, just as the PLO represents Palestinians globally. And then senators legally represent the citizens of the state, as the PA represents Palestinians for legal decisions. And they are able to pass bills and laws and acts. But yeah, so I don't remember where we were going with this.
Yeah,
it was something with Arafat. And,
yeah,
but the Egyptians.
There's quite the history between Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza.
It's going to be a brutal episode.
Oh, dude, I have.
I'm so sorry.
So
I'm so sorry.
I am.
I'm going to have to listen sober.
Hell yeah.
Where we're at.
I'm-
I have a feeling
That's
it's
pretty
going to
hot.
be fucking insane.
So I've been drinking a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe my I can't recall so much about some of the history that I've read about.
Okay.
But
I'm sure you can do some of it.
if there's
Okay.
if there's one thing that I've been actively reading about, it's been
terrorism.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's been ISIS. No, it's been the history of the Palestinian people.
Yeah.
And the role that the British government has
Yes.
been involved with.
And that's where it started.
So,
and like
which
that's
will take... Man, this... Oh, I love how this flows into modern history.
it's really good.
Because the international peace organization that Trump has called for, where Trump has been the chair of for Palestine, it's him and Tony Blair, who is a he's British.
Yeah. You all.
And you want to talk about Palestine outside the Ottoman Empire? It's the British Mandate Palestine. So you talk about Tony Blair nowadays. British had it post 1918 when the Ottoman Empire fell. Oh my god, dude!
That's
so many
actually a
things.
really good point. I actually just watched a thing on Tony Blair, and he was very.
So he was the Quads.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was very much involved with terrorism on the United Kingdom side when he was prime minister. And like the guy is actually pretty intense. But it's interesting because he wants to represent his people so bad, but he's a little too conservative for them. and like it's really interesting. And again, it's a
These are
future episode.
These are. Oh my god, this is such an.
This is
episode.
perfect. We need to make some highlights.
Dude, we're going to be here for Wednesday.
Oh, dear God.
I have to sit through right now for this episode alone.
Oh my gosh,
an hour
it's almost 5:30.
minutes
It's almost 5:30
of bullshit.
It's not. No, it's not. I swear, this is good
This
stuff.
is my episode. This is my episode.
This is
an
gold.
hour and 45 minutes.
This is gold. It's your exactly.
Wait, hold on.
He's normally cutting me off at 55 minutes. He's over here. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna end this episode. I gotta get back to this.
I'm a little passionate about the Zionist movement. Okay,
we're at almost 2 hours, and he's rambling on about some bullshit. Okay, I gotta sit through this and listen to everything.
Good.
I'm gonna need a drink to listen to this.
Good.
This is gonna be edited like fucking ass. For anyone that's
So no, it's not.
I'm sorry.
Hold on. Okay.
I'm gonna be hammered listening to this.
No. So
you're gonna edit it. Okay.
For all 6 listeners out there,
Clarissa and Dan's parents. Okay, I'm sorry.
Just get ready.
I'm the one editing everything. I'm responsible for all of this. It's at my house, but they fucked me on this.
I am going to prepare.
Did not have sex with him
for the next episode in regards to the Zionist.
You prepare.
Oh, please do it.
Zionist
I'll have some stuff too.
We'll have a debate. We'll have a debate.
The early 20th century government.
Listen, it's going to be the best debate ever.
The British government.
Oh, let me tell you, it's going to be the best debate ever. You guys are going to sit here and debate. You're going to argue. I'm going to drink. And you guys are going to argue, and I'm going to listen to it later. And I'm going to determine what's going to get cut out.
So you guys are coming over on Saturday, and I'm going to buy some Scotch whiskey. Or
oh yeah, you know what? I'll bring the Martian vehicle over because I'm driving them downtown.
Heck yeah.
And I'm going to come back and we're going to drink. Heck yeah. And then I'm going to sober up legally.
Oh yeah,
legally for all the lawyers out there. Legally 0.00.
It's the best way to watch kids.
When do we leave? And let me tell you, these kids, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's happening. They're stupid.
Funny.
No, but we're going to talk about Theodore Herzl.
Let me tell you, you're going to talk about theater. I knew you were
Theodore Herzl. The Balfour Declaration by Arthur Balfour.
Well, let me tell you, this guy, he doesn't know what's going on.
We're going to talk about Ben Gurion.
He's going to say a bunch of shit. He doesn't know it.
Ben Gurion.
Okay, yeah.
Ben Gurion.
Yep.
And then we're going to tie that into Benjamin Netanyahu. And then we're going to talk about how crazy the Lucade party is.
All I know is...
Absolutely.
Okay, let me get this straight.
And like the influence that a political party got into the Mossad.
Yeah. Okay, can we just straighten this out for the weekend?
Yeah.
I'm going to drive my wife's car downtown with all of your wives.
To the Jonas Brothers concert.
To a Jonas Brothers concert. And then drive back to you guys.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Let's do it, boys.
Let's go. That's going to be the best drive ever.
I mean, honestly, if we all left from here, we could just fucking do a party from here. Let's do it. I got the bar.
What if we
bring the kids? Bring the kids.
This place isn't childproof.
No, wait.
What if we? Cat, it's fine.
What if?
All right.
Okay, we gotta
go. Love you, people.
Everyone's wives are here.
Yeah.
My wife's here. That's a problem.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.